one item which I'm also being asked, kasi as a legislator, tinatanong din ako doon about the confidential fund. Ano ba ito?
I'd like to acknowledge also Vice Chair of the committee and the Chairman of the Committee on Basic Education, Senator Win Gatchalian. Afternoon, sir.
Okay. I have to ask this, Madam Vice President, and to your staff, because I'm also being asked as a legislator. This is, sabi nila, this is a first for the OVP. I do not know if that is a correct, but a 500 million peso allocation for confidential funds. So apparently, siguro when the last Office of the Vice President made the submission during the budget call, there was no confidential fund. And then the new Office of the Vice President asked for 500 million. May we know how?
Before I give the floor to the Vice President, with your permission, Minority Leader, dear colleagues, just to state for the record that the OVP, just to place things in perspective now, Your Honors, the OVP, I'm looking at the records, received confidential or intelligence funds for 13 years, from year 2000 to 2012, Your Honor. So that's just to place that on the record.
Was it confidential or intelligence? Para, I think there's a difference. There's a difference.
There was no distinction, Your Honor, until 2011 when it became, I think there was a distinction made between confidential, which were given to civilian agencies, whereas intelligence is given to, I hope I'm not wrong, Your Honor.
Yes.
I'll subject this to some colatilia, but I think intelligence is given to the military and
So now-
security agencies, Your Honor.
So proper terminology now would be confidential.
I think the proper terminology now is...
That is how I understand.
Yes, Your Honor.
So, it may have been given before, let us say, in amounts of 5 million pesos in 1 year, but this time kasi 500 million pesos in 1 year. So may we know how are we also to answer the questions asked of us, how to justify this item in the OVP's budget?
Yes. Yes, I'd like to repeat the manifestation of Senator Angara, Your Honor. Since 2003 to 2012, there were funds, intel and confidential funds that were granted the Office of the Vice President. And as to the amount, Your Honor, and the propriety of the confidential funds, as we have manifested in the House of Representatives, we leave it to the honorable members of the Senate to decide on this matter, Your Honor.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. So when you made that statement, pala, that refers is exactly to the same item in the budget. So thank you for that. And then ang nakikita ko lang po kasi is we are going to, the plan is also to build a permanent home for the Office of the Vice President, and I think there is an amount here of 10 million for land acquisition. So have we already identified the specific lot that we intend to acquire or purchase for the permanent home of the OVP?
Yes, Your Honor. Right now, we are talking to GSIS of properties under them that can be donated or sold to the Office of the Vice President as a permanent property of the Office of the Vice President. We initially allotted 10 million for thinking of a down payment just to secure the contract for next year, and then ask for additional amounts for multi-year payments of the property.
Do we already have an idea, Madam Vice President, of the total acquisition cost of the lot? And then do we have an idea already now of the total cost of the structure itself?
Right now, sir, we are looking at one property only, and that is the Coconut Palace. But there is no amount yet identified or given by GSIS, but we are still looking at other properties as well of the government that can be used, given to the office of the Vice President for a permanent office.
At least we know the medium to long-term plan of the Office of the Vice President. So, kasi tatanong ko nga sana yun, why not use the Coconut Palace? Yung pala, this time, it's a purchase of the, possible purchase of the Coconut Palace and maybe renovation to accommodate yung mga museum, something na mga plano pa natin. Well, at any rate, Mr. Chairman, so once we acquire, what is the plan, Madam Vice President, once we have this permanent home, we will no longer maintain the satellite offices that we are currently maintaining?
Your Honor, we still intend to continue the satellite offices because these are the offices that cascade down the projects of the central office. Particularly when we came in, we saw that the medical and burial assistance of the Office of the Vice President, which started during the term of Vice President Noli de Castro, was concentrated in the NCR area. So the satellite offices deliver those assistance to the areas where we established them.
And siguro talagang tinangkilik yun, ano? Our constituents really availed of the medical and burial services. Well, nakita ko rin po yung mga effort natin to give a lot of services to our people. We have food trucks, Peace 911, Pagbabago, and we have this libreng sakay. But of course, when we try to replicate what the entire government is doing, it will really cost us. It will cost us a lot, and we really cannot afford it. Kaya napansin ko rin po sa libreng sakay, we have free transportation, but 5 buses. Meaning to say, we are limited to 5 areas siguro because kailangan predictable din yung services. So that's just an observation, Mr. Chairman, Madam Vice President, na siguro we should just select the services that yung talagang kailangan ng taong bayan at saka hindi na binibigay ng ibang ahensya. Kasi for example, itong libreng sakay, DOTR dito naman sa Metro Manila, tapos may mga fuel subsidy programs din, pati ang PNOC, gusto rin nila mag-offer na gano'n. So, as part of the medium-term fiscal framework of the Marcos administration, gusto rin nila yung fiscal consolidation, yung mga economies of scale. Pinag-aralan ko pa rin po kasi rin yung MTFF ng Marcos administration. So siguro we should not try to replicate the entire government setup through the office of the Vice President. May we get your reaction, ma'am?
Yes, thank you, Honorable Senator. Yes, sir, we are not duplicating or replicating the existing libreng sakay of the Department of Transportation. In fact, the buses, sir, were lent to the Office of the Vice President, which we lent to the DOTR. So instead of the DOTR renting buses, they have free 5 buses from the OVP, for which they don't pay for the lease of the buses, except that the...
So dapat ma'am, bayaran pa kayo sa lease ng tumulong sila sa construction ng building ninyo, ma'am.
We just pay for the salaries of the driver and the gasoline.